What China did to the US with rare earths, can India do it too? As the world grapples with Trump's mood swings, which I would like to call as Trumpidity, India has new thing going on now, which is 25% tariffs plus 25% additional tariffs, so it could be 50%. But wait, what can India do? What is it best at which others can't even think of? Are Gavar? No, 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 no. I'm not calling you stupid. I'm talking about Gavar, the vegetable. In English, we call it cluster bean or guar. But what about them? Why are we suddenly talking about a vegetable? And how a simple, humble vegetable become a negotiation point? For all this, you need to watch the entire video. And yes, if you stay till the end, there's business idea which I would like to give you for free. So before starting, I would request you to hit the like button, share this video across everyone, and subscribe to the channel immediately. Hi, my name is Swapnil Karkare, a chartered accountant and an economist. Welcome to Swapnil Karkare podcast, Economic Insights on India. In this episode, we are going to talk about the humble Guar economy. If you have followed financial markets closely, you would notice that there is a commodity called guar gum. This is nothing but a byproduct of guar or cluster beans. It is one of the most versatile commodities which is not only used in food related things but also pharmaceuticals, oil and gas, and many other sectors. Let's learn about them. But before I begin, I would like to give a shout out to Instagram handle The Reading Room. The topic was inspired from her post on Guargam. Let's cut to the chase and break the suspense. US needs Gawar. Its shale gas industry is heavily dependent on guar gum. How? Let's see. But first, let's understand what the shale gas is. Shale gas has made USA independent of its energy needs. It doesn't require Middle East for oil now. It can produce its own fuel through shale gas. So shale gas is basically a type of natural gas which is trapped deep underground in the layers of shale rock. Unlike conventional gas, which is found in large pockets, shale gas is locked in tiny spaces within the rocks. To extract it, companies use a technique called as fracking. Fracking is short for hydraulic fracking, which involves drilling deep into the earth and pumping a mix of water, sand, and some chemicals at very high pressure onto the rocks. So basically, the pressure cracks the rocks and creates tiny cracks as fractures. But here's one small thing. When we drill into the shale rock to extract the gas isn't sitting in big empty spaces. It is trapped inside tiny pores and thin layers of rocks. To release this, we need those cracks or fractures in the rocks using that high pressure fluid. But there's another problem. Once that pressure stops, the rock wants to close back up like a squeezed sponge returning to its shape. That's it. If those cracks close, the gas will not come out. That's why we need something to hold the cracks open so that the gas can escape through that and can come out and we can use that gas. Now, here's the role of guar gum. Guar gum is a thickening agent made from guar beans. In fracking, it is added to the water to make it thicker. It's like turning water into syrup. This helps the sand float and move with the water. When the sand reaches into the cracks of the rocks, it holds them open so the gas can come out. So guar gum helps fracking work better by making sure that the sand gets to where it is needed. And this guar gum is produced in India. In short, America's shale gas industry cannot run without Indian farmers. And India is the biggest producer of guar gum. Around 70 to 80% of guar gum comes from India. Isn't this fascinating? So now let's break down how guar goes from a farm in Rajasthan to becoming a key ingredient in shale gas or even ice creams. Let's start. It all starts in India, which grows around 80% of world's guar. Rajasthan alone contributes 70%, with Gujarat and Haryana adding a few percentages. Pakistan also grows some, along with Sudan, Australia, and a few parts of Texas in US. It is a kharif crop, that means it is grown during the period June to October. Guar is a self-pollinating plant, which means that it doesn't need bees or wind to pollinate. It pollinates itself. It is very low maintenance, it is drought tolerant, and it is also sun loving plant, but it needs moisture in adequate amount. Each pod holds 5 to 12 seeds. When ripe, the pod turns brown and dry naturally on the plant. Farmers pick the dry pods from the plant. The pods are gently beaten to release the seeds and they are cleaned. Each seed has three parts. The outer shell is called tegument, the middle is called endosperm, and the core is called germ. The gum is in the endosperm. The seeds go through processing units, mostly around Jodhpur, Bikaner, and Sri Ganganagar. These units dehusk the seeds and split it to extract the part that contains galactomannan, which is a very useful stuff. This is the first step where the value is added. The raw seed sells at say 35 rupees per kg. The refined splits are now worth 55 rupees per kg. So it's like a 50% value jump. Then those seeds are pulverized into fine powder, usually in places like Ahmedabad, Jaipur, and Delhi. Around 20 major players handle this stage. They produce different grades of guar gum. This step adds even more value. The price goes from 55 rupees per kg for splits to 80 to 120 rupees per kg of guar powder, depending on the grade. Companies like Hindustan Gum, Vikas WSP, and Lucid Colloids are involved in this process. Jai Bharat makes ready to use formulations for oil field giants like Halliburton. When the guar seed is processed for gum, there's leftover stuff, the outer shell and the inner germ. We don't require that, but it is not waste. It is used in animal feed. It is a high protein meal. There are two types in it. Churi is more fibrous, around 40% protein, and korma is richer in protein, which is up to 55%. They are toasted to make digestible and safe, and it's also in demand in India's dairy farm as well as in export. Big guar gum players like Hindustan Gum, Vikas WSP, and Lucid make guar meal also. It's a byproduct, so it comes with the guar gum. From every 100 kg of seed, they get around 30 to 35 kg of this feed, and it sells for like 25 to 35 rupees per kg. Finally, the gum powder is then used to make finished products, and this happens mostly in US, Europe, and Japan. Though India uh, has started doing all these efforts too. Guar ends up in all kinds of things: ice cream, sauces, pet food, shampoo, and even pharmaceutical products. And here's where the real money is. The 100 rupee guar gum powder becomes part of products that are sold for 300 to 1500 rupees per kg. So, this is the value chain of guar. India is not a mere exporter of raw seed. They also produce and export a lot of further down the chain. But there is a gap in stage 4, which is turning that gum into consumer or industrial formulations. We aren't doing that much yet. But things are changing at a slow pace. Companies are integrating vertically. They are owning everything from seed to finished product. Now let's get into some technicalities. Then we will understand Gavar gum's history, and then we will discuss what is India doing when it comes to export, its trends, and so on. Guar gum is full of natural sugar called galactomannan. These sugars form a chain that helps guar gum trap water and make things thick. It thickens more than a cornstarch, about 8 times stronger. It is also safe, gentle, and breaks down naturally. So it's good for environment. Just a tiny bit of it, just less than 1% of it can change how something feels or flows. And this is very interesting. At higher concentrations, which is about 1%, it becomes thixotropic, meaning it thickens over time but can thin out when just stirred. Then, if you add borax or calcium, it can form into soft gel also. It can handle high heat up to 80 degrees Celsius for about 5 minutes without losing its thickening power. Beyond 80 degrees Celsius, the sugar chains start to break, reducing viscosity, meaning it won't thicken as well. This matters in cooking, industrial processes, and oil drilling where heat is common. So, here are a few uses of guar gum. In food, just a tiny amount can make sauces, soups, and ice creams feel a little bit creamy. In oil drilling, it helps water carry sand deep underground. In medicine, it holds the tablets together. In shampoos and conditioners, it keeps everything smooth and mixed. So, take any packaged food, you will find an ingredient named E412, and that is your guar gum. Let's dig into some history. Guar was just a green vegetable eaten in Indian households. Its transformation began during World War II when supply disruptions made locust bean gum scarce. Guar was first brought to the US before World War I, mainly to improve soil health. People didn't use in the industry back then, so it wasn't studied much. During World War II, there was a shortage of locust bean gum, which was used in paper and textile industries. It was hard to import from Europe and North Africa at that time, so scientists started looking for new alternatives. The Institute of Paper Chemistry and US Department of Agriculture began testing different plants. They found guar gum worked best as a replacement. Researchers at University of Arizona helped develop guar gum for commercial use during the war. After the war, a scientist named Whistler studied its structure and saw that it has a big potential for industry. He recommended growing guar as a plant in US. But the real boom came in 2000s after the Shale revolution. Now let's see how India performed in export markets of guar gum. Until FY10, India used to export 1 to 2 lakh metric tons of guar gum, approximately 100 to 300 million dollars. In FY11, exports rose to 4 lakh tons, closer to 700 million dollars. In FY12, exports peaked over 7 lakh tons, more than 3,000 million dollars or 3 billion dollars. In FY13, it came down to 4 lakh tons in quantity but peaked in value, where it almost reached $4 billion. Thereafter, exports have dropped drastically. Post pandemic, when it rose, you can see that the share of US started falling. This is very important. Why did guar gum exports fall after FY14? The most important reason is that fracking activity slowed down. Not because oil and gas production slowed, no. Oil and gas production started peaking and peaking and peaking. But fewer new wells were being fractured. Now let's see something which is very important as a part of this industry. Guar gum is only used once during the initial fracking of a new well. After that, the well produces for decades without needing more guar. So demand depends on new drilling and not the total output of oil and gas. In 2014, US had over a million producing wells, but new fracking slowed sharply. Then there are DUC wells, which is drilled but uncompleted. These wells piled up. So basically, they are already, all the groundwork has already been done, but no one is extracting anything because they are just waiting. Waiting for what? The operators are waiting for better prices in the market. Why? Because fracking depends on crude oil prices. Crude oil prices below $70 per barrel make fracking more expensive. So when crude oil prices are above that, and in 2012 they were around $100 a barrel, fracking activity surged. Crude oil prices matter more for fracking than any other thing. Currently, Halliburton, the largest fracking firm in the US, has pulled its fleet out of service, signaling a clear cooling of shale boom. This has directly hit the guar gum demand. Apart from this, some other factors played important role. One was guar gum prices. In 2012, when the demand rose, guar gum's prices reached 30,000 rupees per 100 kg. These prices were very high at that time. So what shale gas operators did, they shifted to synthetic gels like polyacrylamide and amine-based polymers. Similarly, India's guar gum competed with Chinese, Thai, and Vietnamese versions too. They are 10 to 15% cheaper than India's, although India's quality is very high. Therefore, cumulatively, all these factors led to decrease in demand of guar gum. So much so that in 2013 itself, the guar gum prices fell to 6,000 rupees from 30,000 last year. This boom and bust cycle has impacted farmers too. During the boom, farmers in Rajasthan and Gujarat saw life-changing gains. New homes, new SUVs, and ample of expense during weddings. But post 2014, processing units ran at 30% capacity. Today, this sector is trying to rebalance towards stable but low volume industries. Currently, they are diversifying customer base to other sectors like food, pharma, or cosmetics. So, coming to the main point, can India mimic China's rare earths trading strategy with the US? I guess you got your answer, which is no. We are past that stage because exports of guar gum itself is falling, because the demand has fallen because of the peaking of shale industry itself. Trump's famous drill baby drill is not working because crude oil is in surplus and prices are not yet favorable for fracking. Even if after a year or so things changed, there are a lot of drilled but uncompleted wells to cater to this new demand. So, fracking activity, which is more important for guargum's demand, will not be very high suddenly. So, from guargum export point of view, we should be only happy if the shale gas demand rises so much that new wells need to be dug. And this, unfortunately, might take years, and therefore, we cannot pressurize Trump based on this commodity alone, which is easily replaceable too. So, that's the hard part of it, and that's how commodities are. They can be replaced, and you can think of innovation in different angles. But what we can do, if not for the tariff or if not for fighting against the US, we can improve internally, and that is to fill that gap which we discussed at the beginning, the stage 4 gap. We can start making those additives which are used in final products, or more goods can be produced directly by using the guar gum produced in India. If we do that, we don't have to rely solely on export market of guar gum. We can make our farmers richer if they participated in this value chain. I know it is very difficult to do in practice, but our companies can start using domestically produced guar gum as an ingredient more often. Guar gum is natural and good for health, at least that's what the research says. And now, an interesting point that can be turned into a business idea. Yes, and that is Gavar's protein. Yes, that humble looking Gavar might hit the protein market sooner. And this is the right opportunity for Indian companies to tap it as we are the largest producer of guava. India is currently obsessed with protein, even I am, and so like pea and chickpea, Gavar is also under research. Every year, over 3 million tons of guar beans are processed primarily for guar gum. This guar gum is used in n number of industries as we have seen in this video. But what's left behind is the guar meal, also known as korma. Remember, we talked about that in second or third stage. That is a protein rich byproduct which is currently used as animal feed. So, there is a startup called Cori Pro Ingredients. I think it is a US based startup who sees a bigger future in guar protein. They are turning this overlooked byproduct into a clean tasting, allergy friendly, sustainable plant protein for human consumption. And the economics make sense. Guar meal contains 55% of protein, far higher than pea and chickpea. It is a byproduct, so it is cheap. Use guar gum for another industry and monetize the byproduct for a very fancy looking industry. It's an upcycled, non GMO, and grows in semi arid regions with minimal inputs and minimal care. So, from ready to mix powders to plant based meats and nutrition bars, guar protein can be a new thing in the market and can be in trend by next year. I think Indians should grab this opportunity. So that's it for this episode. There are many things that we can do about Guar, but unfortunately we cannot use it for strategic play against US. And that's how the life is. I hope you liked this episode. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on social media and everywhere else. Share this video with everyone, with your friends, family, and colleagues, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you.